Go ahead and put this on silent.
Yeah, definitely.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its scenes while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
It's not done yet.
In restless dreams I walked alone,
Upstroke.
Upstroke. Yeah.
narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp. When my eyes were staring,
I really just want him to jump the octave.
I know.
And then I think that we can go into it. My spirit's not ready yet. I need to be prepped.
and touched the sound
Here it is.
of silence. And in the naked light I saw
Ah, that naked light.
1,000 people,
A lot of people.
Maybe more.
Maybe more than that. I don't know.
without speaking. People hearing without listening. People riding.
Thank you, Disturbed, for opening our
That was a wonderful
memorial
fade.
service.
How did you do that?
You don't really know.
That was good. Oh, wow.
Thank you, Disturbed, for opening our memorial service with your amazing original track, Sound of Silence,
Amen.
known by many as a
the Simon
cover-
of Silence.
as a cover by Simon and Gart Funkel on the Uber driver soundtrack.
Oh, so true.
If you want to hear what it sounds like when someone in Melodyne hits Command A
Oh,
and then
Command A.
and then pitch and
100%.
100% enter print, then you should listen to that
Oh.
to that track. But no, this is serious.
This is serious.
This is very
It's
serious.
serious business. So we kind of have this is a milestone for us in many ways. This is episode number
21.
21. Our little
Gosh,
baby
little babies of age.
has grown up.
Yeah.
He or she is a man now or a woman now. I don't know what the appropriate
And
gender
guess what?
pronoun
It doesn't matter.
is for podcasts.
He or she is extant and 21 years old.
Exactly.
Excuse me, 21 episodes old.
21 episodes old. So
Man, as a two-dad family, it's just two dads right now. Just thinking about just looking back. My whole brain right now is slideshows of our little podcast. First learning to ride a bike, first words, first day of school.
what a cool bike it was, the Klon Centaur.
What a cool bike, the Klon Centaur. That thing, and guess what? No training wheels, too.
Oh,
Just
absolutely.
went off and-
just right to it.
Yeah.
And then, we had a Fuzz Face in there somewhere. We had the
Classic.
Marvel Drive somewhere.
Not a classic, but should be.
Should be a classic, future classic.
Future classic.
What do we have in there? We had the J Rocket Audio, Archer.
Man. Back in those days.
We had a Boss something another in there.
Back in those days, they said that the podcast had your eyes, but it had my smile. I don't even know where they come up with this stuff. I don't even know. But we're just sitting here right now. We're just looking back on all the good times we've had. It makes us reflect on our youth. Back when we were in our early days. All the long lost gear that we've had.
Amen.
And gotten rid of. For foolish reasons. Some of which include paying rent. Whoop. The whole mic fell over. Man, that was not planned. It
really is a shame. I am so grateful to all the strangers out there on Craigslist who have helped me pay my rent. Also, though, I love to give back to the community and help other people pay their
own rent
and or credit card bills.
It's especially nice when you know that they're trying to pay their rent.
Oh yeah,
because they're just like, "Hey man, I'll give you $20 for that Boss tuner." You know, like, or wait, no,
it's like, what do you need?
You're like that, you know.
You need $200 for that twin reverb. I could do that.
I can totally do that.
Yeah. I've been on both ends of that situation.
When you're on the browsing side,
it's much better.
It's much
than
better
being on the selling side. The selling side hurts.
Yeah. So when you see that little tag at the end of a Craigslist post that says "must sell by Friday," it's just like, huh.
Well,
I got $50.
That's interesting because Friday is the 30th. So I wonder what that's all about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know it all too well.
A 74 Les Paul Custom, $3,500 or best offer, must sell tomorrow. I'm like, I got $800 right here. But then you're on the other side of it, and it hurts.
Yeah, it does.
Really hurts.
Oh, it's awful.
It's like you're selling a kidney.
But it's this is the world that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't. It's kind of, you give and you take. It's both. You want to be there to help people out, and you're thankful that people are there to help you out.
Mm-hmm. But don't it always seem to go?
It does always seem to go.
Know what you got till it's gone.
So true, dude. The Who is one of my favorite bands.
Yeah, their cover. Of that B-52 song is amazing.
Yeah, it's
really good.
So good. So today, I think what do we got on the docket today? This is going to be a different episode, as we've already kind of said. We're going to talk about
all that stuff that we've had that we, like the prodigal son. We were just betrayed by.
Mm-hmm.
And how great would it be if that prodigal son came back home?
It would be wonderful.
Be wonderful. I'd slaughter the fattened calf.
And I think inadvertently we're probably going to reveal some of the stuff that we're currently using that's on our boards.
Absolutely.
And guitars. Well, I think people could probably guess for the most part.
Yeah.
Like kind of the guitars and amps that we're using. But we are going to talk about some stuff that's on our boards, was on our boards.
Yeah. It's kind of a lore episode. And so something that I've been thinking about as we talk here is I think that some of the stuff I have on my board now exists to try to fill a void left by stuff I've had, you know. But yeah. Also, I pulled my serratus muscle in my back, and so it really hurts to hold a guitar. And so we're not going to play guitars this week. But that's all.
We're still going to talk about them.
But we're still going to talk about them. So Kogan, we haven't even said yet. This is Rotator.
Oh, the pedal party.
Yeah, I'm Chance.
And I'm Kogan. We could edit that and put it in the front part of
That's
the
always possible.
podcast.
Knowing us, we're going to leave it right where it is.
Yeah, that's probably true. If you're listening at this point, you kind of know what we're about.
Yeah.
And if you're frustrated that we're not reviewing a pedal, then I would say go back and listen to any of the 20 other episodes, or wait till next week till we have episode number 22.
Mm-hmm. If you are upset that we're not doing a pedal demo this week, you probably don't get us.
That could also be true.
Yeah. So anyway,
I feel like this would sound really good.
Man.
This setting here. I'm playing with
a heretofore unmentionable
a pedal that
prototype
will be on the podcast eventually. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to say what it is, but I'm going to say I'm very, very, very excited about it.
My gosh. I can't even believe that we're part of the process.
But anyways,
yeah.
You know, I would like to ask you, when I say...
I'm scratching my beard into the mic for ASMR triggers. That was really nice.
I'm going to ask you one question, and
Ask
I want
me.
off the top of your head,
First thing
answer. First thing I
think of.
What is the one piece of gear you wish you still had?
I had a Gibson SG faded with a DiMarzio Super Distortion in the bridge. I had taped down the bridge strap pin with blue duct tape, like aquamarine blue duct tape. And I carried it around in an SKB case with just covered in stickers.
Yeah.
I traded that to a Vietnamese man in Wichita, Kansas, for a 1965 Gibson LGO acoustic.
Ooh, interesting.
It was a cool trade, but so it was kind of one of those things where I had come out of like a rock and roll band, like a heavy rock, like Drop C kind of rock band. And I was also running like high gain amps at the time. And
What kind of strings did you use to run
12
Drop
gauge.
C? Okay,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
They were 12s, just like standard like D'Addario 12s. No, that's a lie. They were 12s with a wound G string. Because I noticed. Yeah, so the music that we played was pretty heavy, and just kind of as a like just what kind of happened when we played it was a lot of it was with the root D shape. So it's like Drop C, but the root shape that is that like low D.
Yeah.
And so I noticed that my first finger, if I was really into the moment, was really digging into the plain wound, and I would press it sharp. And so I had asked some buddies. One of my buddies, JJ Sheffield, shout out to JJ, also had that same problem, and he suggested that I use a wound G. And so I did that, and then it provided enough like substance that I wouldn't press it out of pitch. And I know that that's not technically proficient, and guess what? That's the last thing I cared about when I was playing that kind of music, was being technically proficient.
You're not really thinking about that when you're playing that type of music.
No.
Heavy rock, almost hardcore, maybe.
Yeah.
Post-rock, whatever.
But yeah, so that SG, I got, it was kind of a hybrid. It was part 16th birthday present from my dad. And also it was part, I set up tables and chairs at the First Baptist Church of Marlow Family Life Center every Wednesday night for the Wednesday night supper at church. I set up tables and chairs by myself every week for a year.
Oh, man.
And so what I got out of that was that faded SG, like that raw mahogany brown
Absolutely.
SG.
With a full pick guard. I know exactly.
Full
the guitar you're
black
picking.
pick guard, just open pickup cavity. Yeah. I ended up being able to get that and a Marshall MG 100 something, like a solid state.
Oh, yeah.
Half stack with a 412.
Yeah.
And I was in rock and roll heaven. But I mean, the amp left, but that guitar transcended, into when I was playing orange amps And I mean, there are like pictures of me out there playing that SG with the cream colored super distortion humbucker in the bridge through a orange Rockerverb 100 going into a 1974 orange 412 that went on stage left, and then a Marshall 412 that was on stage right. So it was just like boom. And that guitar, I don't know. I feel like I've forgotten more riffs I've played on it than I can keep in my brain. You know, it's just got a lot of juice in it. And I have contacted the guy that I traded with, and he sold it to some guy in Missouri. And it's just like the chain's so gone. But
you never know.
You never know.
That guitar could come back into your life.
It could. Same question to you.
That's a tough question. There's been a lot of gear that has come through my house in and out. I would say, so I'm going to put an asterisk by this because there's a piece of gear that I got out of this trade that I love.
Yeah.
But the piece of gear that I gave up was also unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And at one point in time, I had a Gretsch. I believe it's a 61 20. Oh man, I cannot. It's not a 6120. It's a 6124. I don't know what the number was. It was a Duojet. It was a George Harrison signature Duojet with Dynasonics in it. Bigsby.
I remember.
Black.
Classic.
The back of it looked like a nice piece of 70s furniture. It was one of the best guitars I've ever owned. It sounded great. It just had every... you kick on an overdrive on that bridge position, and it was just like gritty. It cut through a mix. It felt good in the hands. The neck was nice and wide, but it wasn't too thick. Mm-hmm. And you put it on the middle position, and you had that nice like bell tone sort of Gretsch sound. I had that for several months, and I think I had traded a Gibson SG Standard and maybe some cash. I can't remember what I traded for that guitar, but I had got that guitar.
You had a SG Standard?
I did. I had a black SG Standard with a cream pickguard on it.
I never knew that side of you.
Oh boy.
Wow.
I really liked the way it felt, but it had those 490s
in
it.
No, get that out. That's trash.
And they're just too those Gibson 490Rs and 490Ts, those pickups are too granular sounding maybe.
It's like
they're like square wave sounding.
It's like I don't know if it's the Mesa Boogie Mark 3 or 4, but it's like that. They have those EQ sliders, and everyone always puts them at the sharpest V. Yeah, it's like there's
Scooped mids.
There's no presence or body at all.
Yeah. So I didn't like the pickups in it. Really wasn't going to put new pickups in it. I think I had got it. I think I bought that SG for like $400, which also is a crazy deal.
Yeah, that's another
We
whole
drove to Fort
episode.
Smith, picked that up, played it for a while. Felt good, but I didn't like it.
Time. If we have the memory space, we need to come back and talk about the thrill of driving, of just spending an entire day driving to a destination Craigslist deal. Because, gosh, that was a beautiful time in our lives.
As Mr. B would say, going on Guitar Safari is a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, yeah.
But I traded that SG plus some cash, I think, for that Duojet, and love that guitar. It was amazing. Ended up trading it to the same guy for a Rick 360 that was also black.
I remember every detail about that guitar.
And I had the opposite problem with that guitar. It sounded unbelievable.
But it played.
But it was like playing a pencil with 6 strings on it.
That was like a toy.
My hands are so big, I could not play that guitar. So I eventually traded that back to the same guy again for the Country Gentleman that I have now, the Gretsch 6122, which I think, have we had that on an episode?
We have.
Yeah.
We had that on the, I think the Julia and the Bad Monkey.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So go check out those episodes if you want to hear that guitar, which I still have that guitar. Currently, that is the oldest guitar in my, well, I say oldest. It's not the oldest in age. I've owned it the longest of the guitars that I have, and I really love that guitar.
What's also crazy about that guitar is I've mentioned it on the podcast before, but I have an EP out under the artist name J. Chance Gibbs, and it's called In the Garden. And Kogan was a producer on that, and among, I mean, we brought, I don't know, 6, 7 guitars plus the guitars in the studio.
So many guitars.
I mean, yeah. Somewhere
you just never know what you're going to need.
Yeah. Somewhere there's a picture on our Instagram that's just like 10 guitars, 10 like beautiful, and very practical instruments. And I think we ended up using that Gretsch on almost every song.
Yeah, I think we did. It just sounded so good with
it. Sounded so good.
Showman, I think is what we were using.
So for all of you who care, so just go listen to it. It's a great EP, if I do say so myself. Only because of the other people who contributed, not because of me.
That is true. Big shout out to J-Mac and Mikey. Mikey laid it down on those skins.
Yeah, that's him. No, but so the general signal chain, speaking of the Gretsch, was the Gretsch, the Carl Martin 2-channel Andy Timmons signature compressor limiter.
Oh, yeah.
Into, various overdrives, but generally it was cleanish.
Yeah, it was pretty clean.
And then the Julia, a carbon copy.
Yeah, Hall of Fame maybe.
And
no, we used the Big Sky.
We used the Big Sky of Levi's for a lot of stuff.
Levi and Bradford, if you need some work done in your Frisco area, Noise Umbrella, go check it out.
NAMS, but yeah, oh my gosh, and it just was just.
It was a huge sound,
huge, and part of that was going through the 1966 Fender Showman into a Marshall 412 cabinet.
Yeah, I believe it's a 1968 cab with probably
G1275s.
Yeah,
that would be my guess. But yeah, just the sound was huge, and so I can say personally, I'm very grateful for Kogan's trail.
Yeah, it is a great guitar, and I doubt I will ever get rid of that. Gretsch. There's just something
if you
about
do, call me.
A Bigsby. You just want to touch it.
Yeah.
You use it all the time.
And again,
I love it.
Personal experience. If you're going to use a Bigsby, it has to have a long tailpiece like that.
Yeah.
Because when you put a Bigsby on a telly, I've never been able to get that to work right.
I like the aesthetic of a Bigsby on a telly.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
But I feel like because there's not as much, there's too much string tension because the scale is so much shorter.
Yeah.
That it feels more like a Floyd Rosen where you're like stepping half steps.
Yeah.
Instead of like on that Gretsch, when you pull that Bigsby down, you're getting every note in between half steps. And so you get like a really fluid, like jump down and up.
So the Bigsby to me feels more analog.
Yeah, and you can get like a natural modulation sound on your delays and your reverbs just from using the Bigsby.
I had a Floyd Rose guitar there for a few months. I just, as much as I wanted to, because I love 80s hair metal, I wanted to just go so deep into it, but I could never get it. But like that almost sounds like a keyboard's mod wheel.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what it's just pure control of pitch.
Right. And it's but
No parameters. It's just whatever you want.
Yeah, and like no heart, no. And that, again, I know that there are probably people like, I use my Floyd Rose with much heart and intensity of emotion. Great, buddy. That's awesome. I couldn't do it. I wanted to.
I could do it either.
It has been a dream of mine since 2004 to have a Floyd Rose guitar, and I just couldn't handle it. So
it was too much.
It was too much. But yeah, I'm thankful for it.
Those are two guitars that we really wish we still had for you. The SG
faded
SG special, or faded SG, whatever they used to call them.
Yep, SG special faded.
And for me, the Duojet. What about amps? Is there an amp you wish you still had?
Nope. Okay, so you asked. We
yeah. So
we took a track break. All right.
I was saying. So we've talked about guitars that we wish we still had. What is? I would love to know this because I don't think I know the answer. What is the amp that you wish you still had?
Gosh,
because you've got a nice stable as it is.
I do. I can definitely turn the ponies out to run.
Is that a saying?
Probably.
That's pretty good. I'm going to use that.
The ponies out to run.
Turn the ponies out to run.
Turn the ponies out to run. But no, there are two. Am I allowed to have two?
Sure.
I'll try to be quick.
Why not? This is our podcast. We can do whatever we want.
So I brought up before having... So at one point I had a 1974 orange 412 cabinet, and then I had a Marshall 412 cabinet that would sit on the sides of the drum set, and I would power those with a orange Rocker Verb 100, which
a lot of amp, completely
inspired by Chappers from YouTube back when he was an orange rep. That also went along with my faded SG special with the super distortion. So I took that on. I mean, I would track it for heavy stuff. Took it with me on the measly hardcore tours we did, where there were
like most hardcore tours.
Yeah, where there were like as many people on stage as there were in the audience. And yet somehow it still got violent. Yeah. But that thing was crazy.
I bet.
And just like you just hit a palm muted chord and you just are like, you almost want to vomit. Just the vibrations that are put off by it are so strong. So that amp actually sent me, so that also was part of the like, I'm done playing rock and roll music. I'm going to get rid of stuff. Some trades and some sales and blah blah blah. I ended up with a 1968 Silverface Bassman head.
Ooh, I think I've heard that.
You have, yeah. We've played some gigs. Kogan and I have been friends for 5 years. Oh no, it's been like almost 7.
Yeah,
it's
been a while.
But we have weird noises from the other room. We haven't actually played that many gigs with each other.
No.
But some of the gigs we have played together were back when I had that Bassman.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things where I had it. I was in college. I couldn't afford to kind of do some maintenance on it that I needed to. And so I sold that Bassman for $400.
Oh, man.
And
deal.
Yeah. And so the whole, like, right here to my right in my bedroom, I have 3 blackface Fenders from the early 60s. And as much as I love these, and as much as there's a negative stigma to the Silverface, like, Fender line, that 68 Bassman was juicy.
Oh, yeah.
Sounded amazing. Just it worked, you know. Mm-hmm. Well, it worked when it worked, and then when it didn't work, I was screwed.
You're just like, whoops.
Yeah. So yeah, I sold it to a guy in a coffee shop parking lot in Norman for $400.
Oh man.
And yeah, so those are kind of my two amps that if I could go back. Oh wait, I should probably say in that line from Rock Reverb to the Bassman, included in that was a Mesa Boogie single rectifier,
Ooh, that's cool.
a Mesa Boogie Subway Rocket.
I don't know if I've ever played one of those.
They are weird. And just like a couple of other like random things that got me there. Mm-hmm. We should maybe later talk about our shared secret fetish with the Ampeg Reverb Rocket.
Oh yeah, we should.
But for now, let's pass that on.
So true.
Kogan, what are your long lost loves of amps?
Oh man, that's a tough question. The first one that comes to mind that I wish I still had was a mid 2000s deluxe reverb, and it had a tan Tolex on it, oxblood grill cloth, and a Jensen. I want to say it was a P12Q. I'm not entirely sure. It was an Alnico Jensen speaker in it, and it just. I love deluxe reverbs. They're in my mind. They're kind of almost the perfect amp. 22 watts. They're loud, but they're not crazy loud. You get a breakup at a decent, like 5 or 6. And
one of those Fender amps that you can actually turn up past 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can turn it up. It sounds good. And I think what did I do with that amp? I traded it for, oh man, I don't even remember what I traded it for.
Bail money.
Yeah. Bail money. I would love to still have that amp, just because it was so portable and so usable. I wish I had it.
Yeah.
One amp that I really wish I still had, and I don't know, this amp either was stolen out of my car or I left it somewhere. Probably.
Oh, I know.
I probably left it somewhere. I'm not sure what happened to it. But I had one of those Marshall Class 5s that I had retubed with some JJs. And, dude, it was the perfect, 5-watt amp. It sounded unbelievable.
Can you say False Creek cabin amp?
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But I don't know what. One day I just couldn't find that amp, and I must have left it somewhere. I have no idea what happened to that amp, but dude, it was awesome. And you could pick those things up for like $200. I think now they've gone up just a smidge, and they're like $300 or $400 if you want to find one. I'm not sure if Marshall's making them anymore. I don't think they are. Mm-hmm. Great amp though, 5 watts. Had a Celestion 10-inch greenback in it, which is like some kind of weird witchcraft that
special
Celestion's working on over there.
Yeah.
But basically, it was like you buy one of those amps, you put good tubes in it that aren't like cheap Chinese tubes, and it sounded amazing.
Yeah. The only thing I recall about the Class 5 that really turned me off was that Joe Bonamassa did a series of promos where he's like, yeah, that's the only amp I use. And I'm like, bro.
No, it's not.
No,
I
it's
just
not.
watched your rig rundown. You're running 2 Bogners and a Silver Jubilee.
Yeah. You're running live 4 amps.
Yeah.
That I couldn't even pay the insurance premium to own. But
yeah, that was a weird thing. I don't know how they roped him into that.
Yeah, no. That Class 5 that you had
Those are great amps though. I would
sick.
say I'll say it if anybody out there can find a deal on one, dude, buy it. If you're looking for a portable, low wattage amp, like that is a killer amp.
Yeah.
And they're made in England, I think.
Dude,
I'm pretty sure
do
those
it.
were like one of the first like reissue, like made in England sort of amps that Marshall was doing in the mid 2000s, or well, maybe late 2000s. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was great.
Unbelievable though.
Just to harken back on something that we brought up earlier was when you have to turn to Craigslist out of need.
Oh yeah.
That 1974 Orange 412 that I had with original Fane speakers.
Fanes,
Fully functional.
Oh my god.
With a custom built flight case from Brady Cases, ATA flight case.
Oh.
I sold the whole thing
Don't say it.
for $500. Oh. And I think I sold it. I think I sold it on the 30th day of a month too.
Oh my
Just
gosh.
like for the love of God.
Please,
I have to
keep
do
the
this.
lights on.
Yeah.
I would have bought that from you for $500.
I would have bought that from you. Also, the same guy that I sold that to had previously bought the 490T humbucker out of that Gibson Faded special that I had replaced, which we've already so we've determined that it's a trash pickup.
Yeah.
He bought it, was like, yes, I would like to kind of experiment with some different humbuckers in my guitar. And I'm thinking, what guitar do you have
Yeah.
with
That you
stock
want it-
humbuckers that this would be an upgrade?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Those pickups don't make any sense to me.
And he did that classic move. See, people used to do this. Now, with texting and emails, I sound like an old man.
I know.
But I also broke
People
my back
know
this
too
week.
much.
They know too much. And so now, like when I'm on a Craigslist deal, I'll search up their phone number and I'll text them like, hey, you're asking $500, I'll give you $380.
Exactly.
And then they can say, I want $450. And I say,
Let's meet in the middle.
like $415, and they say sold, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, back then, you would list something as $800, and they would come to your door and say, "Yeah, I'll give you $5 for it," and you're just like, "Okay,
Fine.
fine. If I don't do this, I'm going to get kicked out of college."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, so true. The
man.
well, you know, you brought up the Reverber Rockets, which we have a long history of. I've owned a 212 Reverber Rocket. I've owned half of a 212 Reverber Rocket. You owned a different 212
No,
and a 112.
I only owned the 112.
Oh, you only own the 112. Somebody else owned another 212 one.
So here's the thing: it gets,
I can't remember.
It gets so convoluted. I don't know which of my friends had which version of which of the amps that we all.
Yeah.
Because at one time,
Oh,
it felt like we all had one.
yeah. I have one in my car right now.
It's
Your old
my
112.
so Kogan has my older. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's the ultimate just pack and go.
It really is. They're made in the USA.
Or like late 90s, right?
Late 90s, early 2000s. It's a 112, 2 channels. You've got bass, middle, treble, I believe, right? And
Yep.
presence, maybe?
Um.
I can't remember if they
I
have
don't
presence.
think that
Maybe
there's
they
a
don't have
presence, but there's a so there are,
There's a 112 and a 212
Yeah.
version for sure.
and there is a master volume
Mm-hmm.
and a preamp volume for the gain channel,
Yeah.
and then it shares the EQ controls with the clean channel.
Yeah.
So what's nice is imagine, which we both love and we're not knocking, but imagine a Hot Rod DeVille.
Which, yeah, we do love.
We love that amp. I have spent so many hours on those. Imagine that, and then imagine that someone did basically all the upgrades that you really wanted somebody to do. Mm-hmm. That's the Ampeg Reverb Rocket. it just like it has more tightness on the low end,
Yeah.
more like present high end, and a more understandable mid range. It's all right there, and you don't have to throw the gain channel in the garbage.
Yeah, the gain channel.
It's so usable, so usable.
Absolutely. If I was
Yeah.
a channel switching sort of man, which I'm not, I'm more of a single channel guy.
Yeah,
I would totally run the gain channel on those.
yeah,
I think, for me, the magic was really in those proprietary Ampeg speakers that they put in there, which I believe I did some research years ago. I'm pretty sure those are made by Eminence, those speakers.
I think you're right.
But the way those speakers responded to your guitar, it was like it was like you were hearing the note before you even played it.
It was, yeah. We both just did the same hand motion.
We really did. It was so tight and just like
the immediacy.
perfect amount of compression.
Yeah. And especially for you, like working musicians out there who aren't really making a lot of money, doing it
Because you're a working musician.
because you're working musicians. Yeah. In our lifetimes, we've found, what did you pay for your first 212? $200?
Yeah, it was dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Especially considering it's like a made in the USA, like functioning tube amp.
Yeah, and so this is also something that I should bring up about a comparison with the Hot Rod series from Fender, is the entire sweep of every knob is like appropriate.
Yeah.
When you have the like volume of a Hot Rod Deluxe basically goes from 0 to 10 in 0 to 1.5. And then everything else is just dealing with like,
like
the
gain.
the extremities. Whereas you have you can actually turn a reverb rocket volume to 5.
Yeah.
You can do that. And it's different than 4 o'clock. And you know what I'm saying? So that's great. What's also great is the built-in spring reverb. So usable.
Oh, amazing. It might be better. It's as good, if not better, than like Fender Spring Reverb.
Yeah. I feel like it's not as, what's the word? Not sensitive, but like finicky. It's not as finicky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same thing with the sweep of the knob. Like, you can really use 0 to 10 on the knob. Whereas like Fender Reverb is kind of like, well, depending on the amp.
Right.
Like newer Fenders, I would say all of the hot rods, Blues, Junior, Deluxe, DeVille, you crank that thing to about 4. It doesn't get wetter when you go up. It just gets
Clankier.
Yeah.
It's like it's like the reflections just bounce off the walls harder.
Yeah.
It's as if you go from carpeted walls to wood walls to tile walls to concrete walls to glass walls or like something like that. It gets so hard so fast and so harsh. Yeah.
And I don't, that's not to knock the Hot Rod series or the Blues series.
Love them. Yeah.
Because I had actually, now that we're talking about that, that's a great amp. I wish I still had I had a 1993 212 Blues DeVille.
The DeVille.
They only made for a couple years, but that thing would go toe to toe with a 100-watt Marshall amp. It was so loud.
Yeah. And it's because I've been kind of curious and looking. Finding a 212 DeVille, that is not easy.
It's hard.
Finding one that's in good shape.
Yeah, especially, I think the Blues DeVilles they made from 92 to like 95 maybe, and then they only made 410 Blues DeVilles, and then they started the Hot Rod series, and I think the 212 Hot Rods are probably easier to come by, but that was a great amp. I really liked it.
Yeah.
Tweed was just... just beat up on it, just smelled like smoke. Like, I'm pretty sure the dude I bought it off of, what was that story? I bought it off a guy who had a tattoo parlor in his apartment, and you walk in and it's just a fog bank of cigarette smoke. And I think I paid $500 for that amp or something like that. I don't know. Not a crazy deal, but it was just like, this is the amp that I need. And that thing, every time you turned it on, it just smelled like smoke.
We could probably have another bonus episode that is just about Craigslist encounters.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Golly.
But that would be a great amp to have. Now, so we've kind of gone guitars, amps. So really now to the nitty gritty, kind of the gem of our podcast,
our
the
wheelhouse.
center of our wheelhouse. What is? Well, okay. So I have two questions. Number one, and we haven't really talked about what is on our pedal boards currently. So number one, what is the oldest pedal that you have on your board currently? Number two, what pedal do you wish you still had that you sold?
Okay, I'm gonna have to tell the story because it's just so sweet. But remember before on the 16th birthday that I got that SG?
Oh yeah.
Well, my grandparents, my only living grandparents, lived in Heber Springs, Arkansas. And so we got a chance to visit them over the summer, and we went to a guitar center in, I think it was Little Rock.
That sounds about right.
And like classic grandparent move is to want to supplement the parent gift,
Oh yeah.
And so they were asking me, and my grandma's very musical. She has a couple of like Southern gospel albums out. She's charted on some kind of like New Jersey gospel charts, which please email us if you can make sense of that. But, so she's like, I'm going to help you out. And like, we're going to do this, So we go to that guitar center and they ask us like, what else do you need? I was like, well, everybody has a tuner. Everybody has a wah-wah.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was that I got the tuner new. Mm-hmm. The Boss TU2. Yeah, I got that new. I got a Boss Crybaby used. And I believe it was the...
Super Overdrive.
No. And I got a Ernie Ball Volume Junior.
Oh, the VP Junior.
Yeah. And so what happened was I got those, and my grandpa was like, and that like totaled to like $200, And my grandpa was like, well, is there anything else that you absolutely need? I was like, and I looked up at the SKB powered
the powered pedal board
case.
Yes.
And I was just like, it'd be great to, put them on something like that board up there. And my papa went, let's get it. And I was like, yes, Papa, you did it. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so, I got rid of that piece of crap crybaby wah. That thing was worthless. And I broke the string on that volume pedal like 3 volume pedals ago.
We could do an entire episode about how hard it is to replace the string on an Ernie Ball VP Junior.
I think that was my cup. I have sold 2 Ernie Ball Volume Junior pedals with the broken string. Just like, I refuse.
It's just like, dude, whatever you can give me, you can have this, because it's so hard to replace these strings.
$5 and a RC Cola, bring it on. Let's do that. Yeah. Now that original Boss TU tuner, TU2 tuner, that is still on my board, and it has never left.
Absolutely.
Works perfectly.
Sure does. It was one of the best tuners ever made.
Agreed.
So I went through a phase where I sold everything, and
Achoo.
There it is. I sold everything, and I had sold everything, downgraded to a pedal train nano board when those first came out. So unfortunately, I could talk all day about pedals I wish I still had. But the oldest pedal on my board is probably my Hall of Fame.
Really?
Number 1, which the 2 is coming out or
It
is
is.
out, and I'm excited to
Bring it on.
to play with it. And a Polytune Mini that I sorry, TC Electronic, hate.
Yeah, it's been rough for us.
I think my particular pedal has some issues because I know people that have those that work great, but it doesn't work so great.
Now, here's just one piece of truth. I have never met a person with a malfunctioning TU2.
That's true. I'm going to find a TU2 and buy it because I used to have one. I sold it because it wouldn't fit on the nano board.
It's not micro size, yeah.
Obviously, and
Yeah.
I regret selling it because it never failed me. But the Hall of Fame, that thing is a workhorse, dude. It's got
It's unreal.
every type of reverb you would ever need. It sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
It's small. You can adjust the one thing I feel like people don't talk about the Hall of Fame that was genius ingenuity is that they put the wet dry knob on the left side, bottom left side.
Mm-hmm.
Your reverb is probably going to be at the end of your pedal
The
chain.
left side, yeah.
I can adjust the wet dry with my foot.
Oh, yeah.
How much I need. And
That's great.
That's probably why I've kept that pedal so long, is because it's so easy to adjust on the fly without having to bend over. But that was a great pedal. That's the oldest pedal on my board. The one that I wish I still had, I'm torn. I really wish I still had my DD20. I think
Oh, yeah, buddy.
that is one of the greatest delay pedals ever made. And one of us still uses DD20.
I do.
And I wish I still had mine. It's so good. It's so easy to use. It sounds great. Can't go
Yeah.
wrong with it. I can only imagine the DD500s. They probably sound incredible.
I feel like Boss was made, like, if Boss had only made the TU2 and the DD20, like, that's a great legacy to leave.
Oh, absolutely. The other pedal that one pedal that I wish I still had, kind of for nostalgia, kind of because it probably sounded good. I don't really remember. It was so long ago. The Full Tone, Full Drive 2. It was blue. It had
2 switches.
Overdrive.
That was like 2 switches.
You're like, what? It had a boost. It sounded great as far as I can remember. I probably barely knew how to play guitar when I had it.
Yeah.
But I remember everybody had that pedal.
Yeah.
And I was happy to have mine.
So just right quick timeout. You got to say both earliest pedals and pedals you wish you still had.
Oh, did you not say pedals you wish you still had?
I only said oldest.
Oh.
Which I should specify. The oldest pedal I have is a late 80s Proco Rat 2.
That's true.
And that also brings up an interesting dilemma as I talk about the DD20.
Uh-huh.
So my future father-in-law, I am engaged. My future father-in-law, thank you. For Christmas this last year, he built me an analog delay pedal that sounds so sick. It's like tappable, and I can choose. I can't even start like quarter, dotted quarter, eighth, dotted eighth, 16th, and dotted 16th. I think those are the options.
Oh, dang.
A lot of stuff, right? Postmates is here. But with like depth control for the modulation, it's just great. He also built me a rat clone.
Ooh. Oh, I have heard this.
And I just actually played a camp with Kogan this last week where Kogan played
Hey-o.
the drums. Those big round tubes with skin that you hit. He played those. Didn't even put a... there was not a boss or walrus pedal on those things. He just played them raw.
It was just raw
He just
drums.
did it. Yeah. It was crazy. But I got to run stereo, JCM 800, and the Fender Vibrolux, and it was unbelievable.
It was amazing.
The only goal I had for the whole week was, can I dial in this rat clone to sound like my original hardcore 80s glow in the dark green and white graphics rat
2.
And I swear I got within like 3%. I'm right there. I'm on the cusp.
I mean, while we're here, does it run at LM308?
Yes, it does.
Ooh.
So the way that he built it, I can switch between voicings of... So it's 4 spots. He's all about like let's invent a cooler wheel, than the OG wheel. So it has a big boost. We should probably do an episode on this,
it'd be cool,
like a bonus, but in an interview.
Oh yeah, we could.
But it has a big boost setting, which is the biggest freaking boost I've ever had. An original Rat 2 sound. The Turbo Rat, which is higher gain, less headroom, and then what he just called like a generic overdrive. So I don't know if that means like
Tube Screamer,
TS9, TS808 or what, but just I was purely going for, can I make this sound like my Rat? And I mean, it just got to the point, and if you listen to our episodes in the past, I went crazy about that Rat when I got it.
Oh yeah. It
got to the point where I was just like, I could live my life without missing the Rat.
Oh man.
But so that's the
what
oldest
a day.
Right. It was hard for me to say that.
So that's the oldest.
That's the oldest pedal.
Yeah.
And then I said that stuff about the other pedals. But the pedal that so much time. The pedals that I wish I still had. One of them was, so I told you about how Nana and Papa bought me a tuner, a wah-wah, and a volume pedal.
And an SKB powered pedal board.
And an SKB powered
Let's not forget it.
Perfect. SKB 55, or PS 55 or something like that. Well, I saved up some money.
Ooh.
I went back to Guitar Center and I bought a Marshall Governor reissue.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's called the Echoplex Delay. And what I did, so...
Who made a Marshall Delay?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't know if it's Echoplex or something.
Echo something, yeah.
Yeah. But it was based on the EP circuit, and I would used to, I would take a marker and mark on the like delay time knob different songs. So live, I could just switch it to that spot on the knob to get the right tempo.
Yeah.
Back before I had a tappable delay. But all that beside the point, that Governor not only... So it had a EQ contour knob that was set inside of another like mids knob. And so it's like you could sweep the mids wherever you wanted and then decide how much you wanted to
cut, like a Q knob,
like push or cut. And you could just get so many sounds out of that. And it was very gainy.
Yeah.
And it was so nasty. And I think I sold that for like $30, like $25.
I would have loved to hear that.
Man.
Oh, pedals.
I miss it. Also, I used to have a BB preamp and I had 2 different BB preamps.
Yeah, I remember that.
Twice I've sold exotic BB preamps and wish I still had them.
Great pedals.
Had an AC booster.
Also great pedal.
Great pedal. I had a full-tone Plimsoll.
Great pedal. That's a classic.
So much juice on it. The one pedal. Okay, maybe last thing we talk about on this episode, because we're running really long. Desert Island pedal.
Ooh.
So, and like maybe we say drive.
Okay, Desert Island drive pedal.
Drive. I haven't done an episode on this yet. I would like to soon. One of my first Craigslist deals.
Oh boy, I can't wait for this.
I acquired a old Catalan bred SFT.
Oh yeah.
Back before they had the Stones or Stoner switch. This thing it's kind of ugly because it has like a blue and white checkerboard, like picnic basket kind of look. It's a bass overdrive that they should never have put the word bass on because it is guitar through and through. It's the one thing I have on my board that I could go from like 0 to hero with no problem.
You've had that for a long time.
I've
known you,
and it's one of there are a few sacred cows with me, as can be shown by all the stuff that I regret getting rid of. Like even if it's awesome, I'll consider selling it. That SFT is going on a good 10 years, I think. Of I'm not messing with that.
Yeah,
8 years maybe, but still.
Man, that's a great question. Desert Island. I have to go with. So of all the stuff I've played as far as overdrive goes, versatility obviously is a question. Portability is another question.
Yep.
Is it, what kind of footprint does it leave? The first thing that pops in my head when you say Desert Island overdrive is the J-Rocket Archer. That is currently on my board.
Yeah.
And it can do low gain, it can do medium gain, and it can tiptoe into high gain territory depending on the type of amp that you're using. And so I think for me that has to be kind of like, man, it's so small, it sounds so good.
Yeah. And it's not going to get in your way too.
No.
Three knobs.
3 knobs, it's transparent. You really hear, if you're playing a Strat, it sounds like a Strat. If you're playing a Les Paul or an SG, as I tend to do, it sounds like your guitar, but dirtier. So it's kind of hard for me to not go with the Archer on that one. There's some other pedals that I love that sound amazing.
Yeah.
But man, if I could only use one overdrive, that might be it at the moment. So, we've talked a lot about the gear that we wish we still had. We could go on and talk about gear that we are currently using, which a lot of the amps you've heard and guitars you've heard, that's stuff that we're using right now. As far as pedals go,
it rotates, baby.
It rotates. There's just
Hence
stuff.
the name of the podcast.
It's on
it's
and it's off. And there's some stuff that stays, like the TU2 or like the SFT, or for me, like the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to know from our listeners out there,
you,
Jared, or
Billy,
Connor,
Tom,
Tanner, all you people who are listening to the podcast.
You freaking Swedes who never email me. I say
never do.
The
Every
Swedes
week.
are listening. Swedish people.
Email me.
Email me that you exist. I know for a fact that some weeks there are more people in Texas who listen to this than there are people in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Who are you?
Send me an email.
Why are you listening to us?
Rotator.party@gmail.com.
I would love to know, what's some gear that our listeners have lost or sold due to rent money.
Or we love stories.
Bills. I just love stories. I want to know, what stuff that you guys wish you still had. What stuff that you have now that you wish you would have had 10 years ago. You know what I mean?
I love those stories of unrequited love.
And you can always email us at rotator.party@gmail.com, or we're on Instagram, Rotator Party. We have a
I
Facebook.
think we're rotator.party, or did we take out the dot?
I think it's just
we took
Rotator
out the
Party.
dot,
Yeah. Facebook, Rotator Party,
Yeah,
Rotator.party,
something
something
like
like that. I don't know. There's ways to contact us. It's not super hard. If you just go online and
Due
Google like
diligence. That's up to
Rotator,
you.
the pedal party, it'll show up. We have a website, blah, blah, blah. I would love to know about all of these stories, like good deals, stuff you've lost, unrequited love, stuff you never got that you wish you would have had. Oh, dude, I can't tell you how many times I've had a deal to get a piece of gear, and then the dude would be like, oh, hey, sorry, that just sold, even though we talked about you coming over here right now.
1964 Strat. Placid blue.
In Dallas, Texas.
In Dallas, Texas. $350.
Oh, what a deal.
I was in the back row of my humanities class at UCO, and I was packing my computer.
Ready to go.
I was like, I got $80 in the bank. I'm going to spend like 40 of those on gas money, and I have $350 in cash in an
Let's
envelope.
do it.
I am going to Dallas. And then he's like, yeah, I other people told me I was selling this for too little.
Dang it, other people.
Dang it, other people.
Why?
Anyway.
Anyways, I would love to hear some stories. As always, this episode goes out to the Jared.
The Jared. You played a hand in this and you don't even know how. And neither do we.
Amen, brother. So I'm Kogan.
And I'm Chance.
And this is Rotator.
The pedal party.
Hear my words that I might teach you. Take my arms and I might reach you. But my words, like silent raindrops fell.
I don't remember that part.
In the wells of silence.
Let it go.
And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made. And the sign flashed out his warning, and the words that it was forming. And the sign said the words on the prophets.
Somebody just went like Edgar Cruz. Did he play on this?
Is that Tommy Emmanuel? No, it's not.
Of silence.
Abrupt ending here.